What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. So today, as you can tell from the title of the video, I'm going to be talking about probably, I would say, one of the most asked questions that I get from guys when it comes to weight loss. And that question is, do I get more attention from the opposite sex after losing all my weight? Now, before we go any further in the video, I do want to kind of put a disclaimer out that this is my experience. I am not trying to say that my experience is what everyone else has experienced, what you have experienced. Now, the short answer to that question is yes. I do get more attention from the opposite sex, and I'm sure that's not, groundbreaking. I'm sure a lot of you guys assume that. Whether it's when I'm out and about and I get maybe more double takes, or when I'm talking to people, I feel like it's a little bit easier to conversate, especially if they're the opposite sex. And just like the obvious thing that I feel like people are a little bit more open to me now that I have lost the weight. Now, the natural question that I'll get asked after I say that is, does it bother me? Does it bother me that I am getting more attention from the opposite sex now that I have lost weight? And this is actually something that I've kind of given a lot of thought, because at first it was like, yeah, of course that would bother me. Like, that's not right. People shouldn't treat me like that. But then when I really gave it some thought, and obviously this is something I've thought about for a long time, it really doesn't bother me that much. And I have a couple reasons as to why that is. Now, I want to give a little bit of backstory so you understand where I was before I had lost the weight, and kind of my relationships with the opposite sex and how it really wasn't going the best for me. So as I've stated in a previous video, the first time I ever actually kissed a girl was right before my senior year of high school, and at that point I believe I was 17 years old. And now, leading up to that point, I was like the quintessential friend zone guy. I would become friends with girls, and I would kind of tell myself there's no way that they would ever want to date me, there's no way that they would ever want to be with me, so I would just basically put myself in the friend zone by talking to them about their boy problems, talking about their guys that they're trying to talk to, and I would kind of console them. But the whole time in the back of my head, I'm like, why doesn't this girl like me? Like, I feel like I'm funny. I feel like I was funny, at least I thought I was. I feel like I have all of these other traits. How come they don't want to date me? And I remember this actually all came to a head one night when we were actually at a friend's house. Me and my best friend, we were actually at a friend's house, and it was, you were in high school, we were all hanging out watching a movie, and then we're like, oh, let's go play hide and seek. And what this pretty much ended up happening was all of the couples, it's such a high school thing to do, but all the couples hid together in the dark outside. And so obviously, the couples were doing their thing, or the guys and the girls that liked each other. And I was literally by myself, right? So all these couples were out there was this neighborhood, they were all, hiding. And I ended up just walking around the block a ton of times. And I remember just being so frustrated because it literally, like, I was the only person that didn't have somebody at that party. And it was really, really hard for me. And I remember my best friend actually saw me walking around, and we started talking, and he knew what I was dealing with. He knew how much it annoyed me and how frustrated I would be, wanting to be in a relationship or wanting to have a girl like me, and just feeling like the reason that they didn't like me was because of my weight, and we ended up talking. I remember I broke down that night and I cried to him, and he, he didn't know what to do. He tried to help me as much as he could, but it was really, really hard. So, like, I'm not sitting here to say that it's not a struggle, especially when you're in high school. It's not a struggle when you feel like your weight is the reason that girls don't like you, the opposite sex doesn't like you, or whatever you're into, right? The reason that the person you're into doesn't like you and you feel like that's your weight, that's a really hard burden to bear, and it's not something that I would wish on anybody. And looking back, I would say that it's not strictly my weight that was getting girls maybe not to be interested in me. Again, obviously I can't speak for them, but personally for me, looking back, I remember how negative I was about myself. Now, I would do it in a funny way, and I would make funny jokes, but then it doesn't make any sense, but this is what I would do. I would make fun of myself, and then if somebody that I liked or a friend of mine laughed at the joke that I made, it hurt my feelings. And that was something that I did pretty frequently, and it really became like, my friends would be annoyed, like, dude, stop making those jokes about yourself, like, because like, we're not gonna laugh at it. And then so there was a lot of other things that probably made me not very appealing to the opposite sex. And then on top of all of that, obviously I didn't have that much self-confidence, so it's not like I was really going out and trying to talk to women anyways, because I just assumed they would turn me down. And I honestly wouldn't even give girls the chance, because I just assumed if they were talking to me, it was out of sympathy. Like, this is really stuff that I dealt with, right? Like, if they were talking to me, it was out of sympathy, and I didn't want to talk to them because they're just trying to make me feel better. And, like, there was always an excuse as to why someone didn't like me. And then obviously I would would use the fact that I was overweight as like the main thing. And so like all of that stuff piled on, like obviously I didn't have a bunch of girls lining up to talk to me when I was 360 pounds. Now fast forward to now, I'm not delusional. I understand that losing the weight has made me more probably desirable and I hate to use the word attractive, but probably made me more attractive to other women that might want to come up to me and start a conversation. But I will say that I think that it's not just the weight loss that has made it easier for me to talk to women. It's the fact that I have so much more confidence and I know what I'm capable of. Like I was able to lose this weight. I've been able to build this YouTube. I've been able to do so many other things that I have so much more confidence when it comes to talking to someone. And I feel like I have more to bring to the table to an actual relationship. Before, I really felt like I didn't have much to bring to the table to an actual relationship. Not just like, oh, let's talk and flirt, you're cute. Like literally like, if we're gonna have a relationship, we're gonna be sharing stuff, we are going to be going on adventures together, we are going to be a unit, right? Like we're gonna be together. And before, I felt like I didn't have much to bring to the table, so it just made me not even want to try, really. I'm not sure if that makes sense to a lot of you guys out there, but to me it makes complete sense. Like I didn't have much to bring to the table, why would I even try? Now I feel like, I'm not saying I have the most in the world to bring, but I feel like I do have a good amount to bring. I have experience, I have, dedication, I have everything that I've done in my life up to this point to bring to an actual relationship. So it makes me so much more confident going into a relationship when I'm actually talking to a girl. Obviously now I have a girlfriend, so I don't have to worry about this anymore, but I have that experience. I have that confidence to actually go into a situation and talk to a woman and feel confident in myself. And I don't feel like I'm always having to hide behind, my weight or have to make jokes about my weight or make jokes to make someone like me. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is that I would say when it comes to just initial, like having a girl interested in me, I think my weight plays a huge part in that. But when it comes to actual relationships, I think my personality has changed so much and my confidence has changed so much that it makes it a lot easier for me to feel like I actually am worth starting a relationship with, when before I genuinely felt like, why would anyone ever want to be in a relationship with me? Again, like I said, I know this video is mainly about my experience, but I do kind of want to share maybe some tips with you guys. So if you're a guy out there that's worried about the opposite sex, or even if you're a woman out there that's worried about the opposite sex, I would say try to look past just your weight and try to think about what's your personality like. Do you have confidence? Are you actually putting yourself out there? Do you actually feel like you have something to bring to the table? And again, you can totally have all those things and be overweight. I'm not saying that you can't. For me, I didn't. So I would say take all of that into account and don't try and just only blame it on your weight, because I really feel like, especially if you're looking for a real relationship, weight is a big deal, and it's gonna, it's obviously gonna play a part in someone thinking that you're attractive, so that's gonna play a role. But when it comes to an actual relationship, weight isn't the only thing, and it's definitely not the most important thing. I believe that, who you are, what your heart is, what you want to be, like all of those things matter so much more than just your weight. But I would say take all of those things into account too, and don't just blame it on your weight, because for me that was the easy thing to do, and for a long time it made me really bitter, and it made me not even want to lose weight, because I was like, well, it doesn't even matter, like these people don't like me just because of this. So I almost didn't lose weight in spite of those things. I'm not trying to sit here and preach to you guys, but those are just things that I've kind of realized after doing this for a while and really having some really rough times when I was overweight with my weight and with the opposite sex and feeling like I wasn't good enough. So I don't know, I hope this video, if it does anything, it's able to give you a little bit of perspective and kind of maybe make you look at your life a little bit different. But that is my story. I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any comments that kind of relate to what I'm saying, or if you disagree or anything, I would love to hear it down in the comment section down below. I always love having a conversation. But again, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. There was one other thing that I wanted to say. Oh yeah, look how buff I am.
Obey the warning signs, and when there are flashing lights or wigwags, don't attempt to cross until they come to a complete stop.